There are two kinds of people in this world. The people who fail to do what they know they should, and those who keep doing things they know they shouldn't. Guess what? You're both. Hi, I'm your host, life and business coach, Marcy Barker, aka your loving kick in the pants. In this podcast, I'll teach you the 6 steps of my accountability code that will help you wake up with clarity and show up with aligned action steps that make follow through easy and peaceful. All right, let's jump in.
Hello, my beautiful people. I am so grateful that you were here to listen to your loving kick in the pants. And I cannot believe we had a whole first season. When I started my podcast, I wasn't exactly sure how to do it, but I just knew that the word of accountability had to get out there. So season 1, what we're going to do today is a wrap up. If you are new to this podcast or you haven't heard all the episodes, I'm just going to give you a quick little recap of each episode so you can go back and listen to things that are going to help you in your life. You may be a lifer, somebody who is here listening to everything I put out, and for you, I'm extremely grateful. So maybe you've listened to all of the episodes, but this recap will help you remember some of the things that you've learned and hopefully get you to review some of the episodes that really had an impact on you. So let's dive right in. Okay, my first episode was my launch. It was an interview where Andrea, my friend, asked me questions about accountability. And it was really, really cool to get those very specific answers out about accountability, because just like a lot of different principles in our life, some we know like the back of our hand, and some we're like, I don't really know too much about that because it's not something I've dove into. It's not something I'm great with. And accountability is something that is never going away. You're always going to be accountable, but when you focus on it and you place emphasis on it, then you're going to become better at it. So the launch episode gives you a really good idea of who is Marcy, what is the accountability code, why did we start this podcast, and it was very fun for me to record. Episode 2 was called Always Ready, and this is an excerpt from my audiobook. And Always Ready is a story where I talk about one of my friends who impacted me highly because she was so good at following through with nudges and promptings that she felt. And if you have listened to any episode, you know that you can go to my website and you can download my audiobook and my ebook for free. And I wanted to give you a little taste of what that was. So Always Ready was not an interview with anybody. I did an intro and an outro, and I inserted that story for you to listen to. So Always Ready is a story that's near and dear to my heart. I encourage you to listen to that one. Episode 3 was with Kim Carlson, your hope dealer. Kim is amazing. We've worked together for years, but Kim has gone through a deep transformation of really pulling out her core message and living it and sharing it with people. And from the time that we started working together to now, oh my, so many good and amazing things have happened. And Kim is still very good at working on her dream. She is still taking action. She's still making things happen. And it's been really, really beautiful to see. So Kim is one of my awesome clients, and I'm sure I'll have her on the podcast again because there's so much that has happened since she decided to embark on the accountability code. Episode 4 with my mom, Debbie Hansen, that was a really fun story. And I'm so glad that I had my mom on my podcast to document the story because it is like family history. My mom told the story of my birth and how I kind of was her loving kick in the pants. I am kid number 6 out of 8 for my mom. I was her fastest delivery, and you'll just have to listen to the story because I was like my mom's literal kick in the pants. So that was a really fun episode, and we dive a little bit into what's been happening with my parents. As I wrote the accountability code, there is a lot of stories in there about some of the issues I had with my dad and accountability. And I don't talk a lot about the dynamic between my mom and my dad. But then I came out with my workbook after my book, and I gave an update that my parents got divorced. And so this episode with my mom is a screenshot of her transformation as well. So if you have any sort of relationship that was a family struggle, then you will enjoy listening to my mom's episode. All right, now episode 5 is very, very similar. It's with my sister, my oldest sister. So we talk about the trauma that we have experienced, and we talk about the different ways we experienced it as siblings. So like I said, I'm kid number 6 out of 8. Hollie was number 1. So we had different experiences at home with our mom and our dad, and Hollie was very good at healing and taking that journey. And it was because of Hollie that I knew I could uncover some things that needed to be healed. And I just have a bigger mouth than Hollie. So hearing both of our experiences with trauma and how we're overcoming them and supporting each other, that is so beautiful. And I believe that Hollie's episode was the most listened to. So it's definitely relevant if you have a family that has issues. Okay, episode number 6 with Becky McIntosh was super cool because when I interviewed Bessie, she was at my retreat. I had known her like less than a week. I had come across her somehow, and I was like, you need to come to my retreat. I have an extra spot. I want to get to know you. I want to put you in my space, and can you come? And she was able to. So on her podcast episode, I took her through the accountability code as somebody who had no idea what it was, had never heard about it, but also had very big goals. So in terms of you becoming more accountable, Bessie's episode is going to be very eye-opening for you to be exposed to what the accountability code can do in your life. And Bessie we connected on a spiritual level, and she's just a beautiful human being. So if you need upliftment, Bessie's episode is going to be one you'll definitely want to take notes on, because going through the accountability code can be very easy, but if you're willing to go deep and answer the hard questions, then it's going to reveal some really, really amazing things that pull at your heart to go and take action on. Episode number 7 with Lisa Wayment. This was also a very popular episode. Lisa goes deep with some of the things that she worked on with the accountability code, and we called her episode Soul Searching because that's what the accountability code will help you do. If you're willing to be honest and you're willing to face those dark parts of you that need to be illuminated, to be addressed, to be aware of, Lisa's episode is going to help you do that. And we all have things that we need to work on. None of us are perfect. And going through the accountability code, you can do it in layers. You can use the code in 30 seconds for a really simple solution, or you can really dive deep. And I don't think Lisa ever went through it on surface level. She definitely took things at a serious level. So you will benefit listening to hers if you have ever felt like there's something more here that I haven't addressed for a long time. So I encourage you to listen to that one. It was super good.
Hey listeners, the message of waking up and showing up is yours for the taking. In fact, it's free. I've recorded my entire audiobook and I'd love for you to consume it between episodes. Head to marcybarker.com to get instant access to the accountability code Wake Up and Show Up. All right, let's jump back in.
Episode 8 with Deborah was really good. Deborah she was such a good client to work with because she also went deep, but she did a lot of the work before our calls together. So when I'd say, hey, Deborah, what are you doing for reflection? What's taking up your mental energy? She had a whole picture of things that she had been thinking about. And we also dive into some of her history growing up because her parents were immigrants to this country, and her work ethic is like none other. So she had some really powerful experiences that really shaped who she was. And the accountability code helped her take massive action in ways that were not expected, or they don't go in line with what her community or family or heritage would have her do. So Deborah's episode is really, really inspiring. Episode 9 with Nicole Marshall. Nicole is one of my awesome clients, and this was an episode where there was so much going on before and after that we were like, oh, we got to turn the mics back on because people need to hear this. And Nicole is a massage therapist, but she's also a life coach, and she has 6 kids, and she is a master at work-life balance. And Nicole has gone through some pretty hard things in her life, but she has such a beautiful way of seeing the big picture. And Nicole being very intuitive with people, we talk about how the first time we met, she was like, I don't know if I like Marcy because I didn't connect with her intuitively the same way she does with other people, but it's because I am very good at not coming into people's space on an emotional level until I've been invited. So we talk about the whole experience of being an empath and being less empathetic or being an anchor. And Nicole is just somebody I can always have a high level spiritual conversation with, no matter what's going on in my life. So her episode was so good, and I wish it was longer, but you'll have to go and glean from that what you will. Now, episode 10 with Jen Coleman. Jen is another one of my amazing clients. She is so sweet, and she is a foot zoner. I go to her regularly for foot zones. And Jen, I would have to say, marked up the workbook when she was working through the accountability code. And Jen is still a client of mine, and we talk about the importance of really grounding in on your values first and then being able to tackle everything. And Jen is in the transition of replacing her income with her business so she can quit her job. And she is coming so far along. Her process is beautiful, but Jen has this skill of sitting with you in those emotions and just letting everything else slide off your shoulders, off your back. And so zoning in with Jen is a really calming and a really grounding episode. So I encourage you to listen to that one if you are like, I don't need to do everything today. I just need to chill with myself and get back into a place of acceptance and awareness. All right, episode 11 with Sharon Costanzo. Sharon, I love Sharon. She has a podcast called Keep Talking Revolution. She is a relationship coach. And at the time of our recording, we talk about a lot of different stuff on relationships and how to be accountable. And since doing Sharon's program and since recording this podcast, I am an even bigger fan of Sharon because she has taught me some amazing skills that have made my marriage and my relationships like gold. We are talking like no fighting, completely understanding each other, being vulnerable and being honest, and setting boundaries with what you want within your relationships and your marriage. So Sharon, she has so much good content out there, and you could be busy for months consuming what she says. And I highly encourage that you do, because she's really, really cool. So that's episode 11. Go give it a listen. Episode 12 with Alexis Whitney. Alexis is the gym owner of SLC Muay Thai. It's a fighting gym. And Alexis was like the poster child for the accountability code, because every time we got on a call, she was very tuned in with the whole picture of her life and what she wanted to do, but she draws a lot of parallels to her life from fighting experiences. So we talk about the gift of pain and how it's absolutely necessary in your life to make you a better and a stronger person. And Alexis had both business goals to work on and some personal goals to work on, but she put it together beautifully. She is just a beautiful person, and so much wisdom comes from Alexis. Episode 13 with Felicia Black. Felicia is another amazing person that really grounds my energy. When I talk to Felicia, it's like chill, but straight up down to business. Felicia came to work with me because she had business goals, and she is killing them. And she has a paint subscription. So we talk about like the importance of having a coach and having somebody help you organize your life within your big business goals. And Felicia is just one of those people that when you talk to her, it's like, of course you did it. You told me you were going to do it. So I know that you did it. If you need a good example of following through, even though you don't exactly know what it looks like when you first set the goal, Felicia has a very good way of painting the picture and making it happen. And it turns into something beautiful. Episode 14 with Ashley Goodrich. This was a really good one too. Ashley came to me as a client a couple of years ago, and she saw me in social media and always was like, I need Marcy in my life. I need to do this. I need to do what she's doing. I need to ask her for help. And Ashley came to the retreat, the celebratory retreat after the 8-week program, and her mind was blown because Ashley had never been in a situation with other successful people, not just in personal lives, but in business as well. So Ashley talks about how when we got on our calls with the accountability coach, she knew there were these things that were eating at her. Not necessarily eating at her, but it was those nudges that would not leave her alone. And she kept getting the same message over and over and over. So I'm going to spoil something a little bit. When Ashley and I recorded this podcast, she hadn't yet done that thing that was nudging her, but she was so close. And as soon as she left the retreat with a few resources and help starting her business, like, she quit her job. She replaced her income. She has more time with her family, and she is thriving in her new business. And so Ashley's episode is just really, really a good example of what it feels like to pay attention to those nudges that keep telling you you've got to do something. And accountability, I say, is, you're either doing things you're not supposed to, or you're not doing the things you're supposed to. So being accountable is recognizing those things and saying, you know what, I'm finally ready to align things and do these things I know I'm supposed to. Ashley's episode is so good. And Ashley was just a really good example of reaching out when you felt like you should. All right, episode 15 with Heather Wagner. I encourage you to listen to this one too. Heather and I have just a very fun relationship. It's like a love-hate relationship, and it has evolved so much since we have continued working together. But Heather and I, we did not like each other when we began to work together. I needed a photographer for my retreat, and I got on the phone with her and I was like, it sounds like with your goals, you could really use accountability. And right there on the call, we hashed out what problems we had with each other and we addressed them. And it wasn't animosity at all. It's like we are both very fun people who tell it like it is. And Heather's podcast talks about addressing those things in yourself that maybe makes you have an attitude or an opinion towards somebody else. And we were able to just talk through this conversation. And to this day, Heather is still my client, and our calls are amazing because when two people work on being accountable or the best versions of themselves, like, you don't get super bothered by people anymore, and you don't worry about what other people think. You start to take care of your own life. So Heather's episode is just fun just because we're not talking crap, but you can tell that there's this banter between us. And so I loved putting Heather's episode in because I feel like in social media or in life, it's very easy to see somebody and be like, I don't like them, or to be triggered by something you see in them, or to recognize like there's something that could be changed so that these not great feelings can be gone. So Heather's episode is really fun. And Heather is such a great person. She has done so much since really focusing on what accountability looks like for her. Episode 16 with MJ is really awesome. MJ has so much wisdom, and she's able to pull out those important lessons that God needs you to hear and listen to. And MJ is a very good example of sitting with those emotions and saying, all right, God, what do you have for me today? What are you going to teach me? And part of the accountability code is, yes, reflection, but it's also humility. It is letting go of your ego, and it is listening to the messages that your higher power or God has for you. MJ does a very, very good job of doing this. So if you are similar and you're like, I know God has some messages for me, how can I be better at listening? That's going to be a really good episode for you. All right, episode 17 with Suzie Bell. Suzie is a great example of taking action fast. Suzie and I can relate of having 4 kids close in age together and running a business and wanting to network and wanting to do all of these things that fill our buckets as a person. And then how do we put that into our daily life when we have all these responsibilities? And Suzie is also a foot zoner, and she does a lot of emotional and intuitive healing with her clients. And so it was really awesome to see how the accountability code has helped her in her own life, but is helping her recognize how she can better serve her clients and her family. Episode 18 with Christi. Christi is amazing. I found Christi through fitness instructing. We have both worked at a couple of the same places teaching classes, and Christi has always been that very solid person you can count on. And when Christi joined the program, we had business goals and relationship goals, and Christi also is very level-headed about where she wants to go in life, and is the kind of person that will sit with this idea and take action in a very loving and deliberate way. And Christi also runs a very, very successful business. And it's amazing to see how utilizing the accountability code is going to enhance every aspect of your life, because you're doing the things that you know you should, and you're beginning to discard the things that are holding you back or keeping you small. And Christi is just a really awesome example of a great friend and an amazing support who's going to be there for you. All right, the last episode in season 1, minus the recap, is Mary Jane. Mary Jane, her episode talks about the relationship between her and her husband and learning how to kind of strip codependency of saying, you know what, I am in a committed relationship and I care so deeply for this person, but I don't want to be forgotten in the ways that I behave. I want to develop myself, and I need to understand that I don't have to live my life based on how somebody else expects me to be. And when you've been in a marriage for a long time, it can set a precedence of like, well, this is how it's always been, so this is how it's always going to be. Mary Jane was willing to use the accountability code to say, things are needing to change because I'm feeling a certain way and I'm not as happy as I know I can be. When on the outside, everybody believes I should be happy. I have a great husband. I have a great life. I have a great job. My kids are amazing. But the accountability code is here to help you align your mind and your body and your spirit. It's not here to align the entire world. It's not here to align your entire family. It's here to make sure that you're doing what you need to do. So that is season 1 of Your Loving Kick in the Pants. I am so excited to let you know season 2 is going to be different, very different. Of course, I will still have clients on here who have utilized the accountability code, but my eyes and my horizons have been expanded because accountability is not just here in my own little world, but there's so many people, so many professionals, so many examples that love accountability and have so much good insight to share. So I'm happy to announce we are not taking a break. I'm going to have the first episode of season 2 ready for you next Wednesday. I am going to have a couple more clients on. I'm also going to have my employees on, aka my 4 daughters. They are my official W-2 employees. And we just got done hosting our first mother-daughter creating confidence retreat. And I want this podcast to be something that you listen to and you're like, what's my next action step? What is the accountability code revealing to me? And how can I increase my peace and my happiness by being in alignment? I want to remind you, true happiness comes only when our spirits learn to control our bodies, training them to be governed by the laws of God. If this podcast does nothing for you, I hope that it sparks your desire to take action on something that's been speaking to you in your heart and mind. And I want you to know, as your life coach, I am more than happy to hop on a phone call with you and take you through the accountability code so that you can take action in that aligned way. Because when you are the best version of yourself, you're going to show up in the world as the best way, and that's going to have a ripple effect. I can't explain enough how important it is for you to do you in the most honest and accountable way, because that's what the world needs. That's what you need. That's what your family needs. That's what your business needs. And I'm here to help you do that. I will see you next week for another episode of Your Loving Kick in the Pants.
Hey friends, I want to thank you for listening to this episode of Your Loving Kick in the Pants. If you got any value out of this episode, I would love for you to drop me a review or share with a friend what you learned. All right, I'll see you next Wednesday for Your Loving Kick in the Pants.